It's Round the Bases with Ted Barrett. First and foremost, people always love to talk about the classic arguments, which don't happen as much anymore because how do you argue something that's going to instant replay in New York? Do you have a favorite, memorable, if you have to clean it up, that's fine, argument of all time?
Yeah, Jim Tracy was managing the Dodgers, and I was working home plate in Dodger Stadium, and I had a play at home, called the guy safe. Paul LaDuca was catching, didn't like the call, was letting me know it, getting close to being ejected. I was like, all right, that's it, Paul. Let's play ball. Wouldn't you know it, which seems to happen in baseball, a couple innings later, another play at the plate, another close play, another play, he's safe. Now LaDuca's ready to blow a stack. Jim Tracy comes flying out of the dugout, gets in my face, starts screaming. He said, from my angle in the dugout, I could see perfectly you got both those calls right, but I can't let you eject my catcher. And so I need you to eject me. And he's screaming at me. And then he said, I said, come on, Jim, I don't want to throw you out. And he goes, you're going to have to now. And he took his hat off, whipped it on the ground. You're ejected. And he starts yelling. He says, thank you for not ejecting my catcher. And but he turned, and of course, everybody thinks he's giving it to me. He turns and he tries to kick dirt on me, tries to kick chalk on me, actually, from the chalk line, stubs his toe, limps back to the dugout, comes out the next day with the lineup cards and said, all right, that's what I get for doing that to you, trying to kick dirt on you. I broke my toe. So I said, yes, there is justice. But Jim was a great guy, and I'll remember that. That happens more often than people think, where they're out there doing their job, and he did his job. He kept LaDuca in the game. He got ejected, and it's a good memory for me.
All right, second question as we round the bases, maybe the flip side of this, as much as you are always so good at building relationships and connecting with players, sometimes those players, most of them, especially nowadays, they don't know how to do that. It's generational. That's also true for the younger umpires coming up, by the way, too. I mean, I think it's a challenge that lies ahead with that whole younger generation because, they grew up, a lot of them, during the pandemic and social media and on and on. That's a different discussion. But yeah. I know when you were coming up, it was all about chit-chatting and getting to know guys as much as you could while still being professional. I can't tell you how many times I would walk in over the years to an umpire's locker room and say, the first time that I was umpiring a game that George Brett was in there, he started sucking up to me. And I don't remember if that happened with you or not, but if it did, please share. But either way, I'm curious how often you got that player that was sucking up to you just to try to win a little bit of favor.
Yeah, I just missed George as a player. I saw him around the ballpark a lot. What a wonderful man. But yeah, there was guys. I felt like Sean Casey liked to, and what a great guy. But I felt like he liked to chat you up to maybe get some favorable calls. They used to call him the mayor because he talked to everybody, but that included umpires as well. And I used to, Sean, I think you're working me right now. Oh, you're a great umpire, Ted. You're one of the best. And I think you're working me a little bit, Sean. I really do.
That's great. And I think about the timeline now. George retired a little bit before you got in, but some of the older umpires, a little bit older than you, that are retired now, you would say to me, it'd be my first time working a Royals game, and George Brett would walk over and say, hey, Dave, you are my favorite umpire in the league. And it was that over and over and over again. But I think that probably makes the world go round too, right? You enjoy those moments.
Yeah. And I can tell a quick George Brett story. I know you're right to wrap up, but this for me epitomizes George Brett. So we're down in spring training. Alfonso Marquez and I, as you know, one of my best friends that I ride bikes with, we take a young umpire. Kid is in rookie ball, fresh out of umpire school, and go out to Kansas City, out to Surprise, where there's an inter-squad game. This is early before the teams report, and you've got Ned Yost is out there with the team, and the coaches are out in the outfield working with guys. So to give us reps, Alfonso and I worked with him, and George Brett is running baseballs to the umpire, this rookie ball umpire. And, as you know, there's no ball boys. Someone's got to do the dirty work, which really it's 5 foul balls. George is bringing 5 foul balls to the umpire. So the game's over and we leave, and they're like, man, that guy that was running the baseballs, George, he was super nice guy, man. I'm like, you know, that's probably one of the greatest baseball players in the history of the game, George Brett. He's like, what? He had no idea. Hall of Famer was running them baseballs. But I mean, to me, that's George to a T.
Yeah, my broadcast partner Jeff Montgomery, Royals all-time saves leader, said that when he was in the lower levels of the minor leagues, that they're out there, and you had to as a pitcher, you had a certain day where you had to do the bucket, with the balls and all that type of stuff. And he saw a kid on the other side. He thought it was like the bat boy or the ball boy, and he was going to pay him $5 to do the bucket for him, and found out later it was Greg Maddux. So a young Greg Maddux. Third question as we round the bases. You mentioned riding bikes with Alfonso Marquez, Fonzie. I know that is a huge passion of yours. What does that mean to you to be able to get out there and ride bikes and be in that club?
Yeah, man, it's just wind therapy, right? I get out on the Harley and ride, get on the highway. Luckily in Arizona, we could do that pretty much 12 months a year. Gets a little warm in the summer, but and it's brotherhood, right? It's the same thing I had in the locker room, getting out and riding with guys, and we get in a pack and we'll go have some lunch and get back together and hang out, do a Bible study. It's really cool, and be able to do that with Fonzie's cool too.
Yeah, good. He's a great dude. I always love when I see Alfonso Marquez. Last question, the walk-off. There's a young Ted Barrett out there. There's a young Alfonso Marquez out there. There's a young fill in the blank out there. They may not know it yet, by the way, either. What's your advice for someone that is pursuing that dream, or any dream for that matter?
Yeah, I think pick out your goal, whether it's getting to the big leagues or whatever it is, becoming a CEO of your company, dream big, and then work your way to get there. But also don't take any shortcuts, because shortcuts ain't going to work. And if someone wants to be a major league umpire, you've got to go out every day and never take a day off, because you never know who's watching, number one. And number two, you've got to get better. And the only way you're going to get better is by working hard. And then the last thing is, sometimes you got to look in the mirror and you have to say, what can I do better? Am I doing my best? Am I getting better? All these things, you have to look at yourself honestly. You can't just go through life and say, I'm awesome, I'm great, I'm the best. Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and go, you know what? I need some work. And I think the great people and the people that are good at their jobs, like yourself, they look in the mirror and say, what can I do better? And, what am I not doing well? What am I doing well? So for young people, I just encourage you to go out every day, do your best, and get better.
Perfect advice, words to live by for anyone, no matter what they're doing, and treat people right. That's such a no-brainer that is often overlooked. It applies to whatever we do, whoever we're working with, whoever we're around. Treat people right, be who you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be respectful. In our case, treat the game with respect, and it's amazing what happens and what it gives you back in return. Who would have ever known all these years later what a successful career? And I know you're not done too. There's still work. Say hi to my buddy Lou Kochaver, one of my favorites of all time. I'm not surprised at all that you're working with him and he's doing what he's doing. He pops in every now and then. But Ted, I've wanted to do this for a while. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you over the years, and then over time to be able to call you a friend as well. I truly love going down. I learn about the game from you guys. Oftentimes I get away from the game with you guys because it takes me out of that grind, and you see the human element of it. So so grateful for your time and friendship, and I really appreciate you spending time today.
Yeah, thank you, Joel. Thanks for being my friend and a friend of the umpires.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right.